My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. Man, what a day, folks. Today, we got somebody who wants to say hi here. Special guest. We'll bring him up here in just a second. He's down in the basement. But today, what a great show on the Sean Hannity Radio Show. So I figured I would recap what we talked about today and go over what the guests brought to the table. Some incredible guests today. Some incredible lessons learned. Even I learned some stuff. And so we're going to cover a lot of this stuff. About the communist creep and where communism really is in all these different activist groups. Now, I've covered this stuff before, but today I got a little bit more insight. I'm supposed to be on vacation this week, but as you can see, I'm still here, and I got some good news for the book as well. So why don't we get started? I'll bring up my special guest who's down here. Let's do it. He's being exceptionally needy tonight. I don't know why. So he's going to cough now. So there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Rico in the house. And let's hear. I'll lift this up for you so you can say hi. Say hi. And he's 17 years old. He's going to get up here and just look around for a little bit. And then he's pestering me down at my feet for some strange reason. What do you think? Today's a big day, huh? Sure was. All right, can I start the show now? I like to shake him sometimes. Just for no reason. Just... Get out of here. Now he feels like he's included. He just sat down. That's what old dogs do. They beg, and then you include them. So, yeah, today was a great show on Sean Hannity's radio show, hosted today. And, of course, yesterday with Will Cow, and then today with the Hannity show, his radio show. Good news, folks. Good news about this book that I was able to do. My book is climbing up pretty fast. And as of right now, these ratings change on probably a daily, hourly basis, But as of right now, let me turn the light down so you can see this. As of right now, this is what your promotions and helping me out have done. We are now at the number 39 on the bestseller rank for this book. That's out of all the books selling on Amazon right now, and we're climbing up pretty fast. Yesterday we were at number 600, then it went up to 400, and then today it went from into the hundreds, and now it's up to 39. It may even be a little higher than that now, I'm not sure. But this is what pre-orders and what your hard work in promoting this book does. This is what it's all about, folks. I always say this, one team, one fight. I always say that, right? Well, this is what we're talking about. How many people have you, throughout, your lives, we didn't have social media, of course, when I was growing up, but how many people have you been able to be a part of as their success grows? I mean, I don't know anybody else, and I don't know many people who brought this many people along for the ride and this many people that were able to partake in not just my success. Listen, again, as I've always said, I'm not in this to be famous. I'm not in this to be rich. I grew up poor. I don't care if I die poor. As long as I'm serving, that's all that matters. And I know that sounds like a line to a lot of people, but you can look at my resume. And up until just a few years ago, I was in service. I wasn't out doing this stuff. But what I've realized through this is that, nefarious or not, the people that make it to the highest points of, I didn't want to use the word power or fame, because that's not what we're looking for. We kind of are looking for power, though. We're looking for the ability to have a voice. And what's interesting is that I don't feel like the people have a voice in this country. Even when they back a president or back somebody, you lose access to that person. Special interest people, unless you belong to the ideology that they belong to, you don't really have a voice with them. It's not like Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or Nancy Pelosi or Paul Ryan or John McCain or any of these other people. It's not like they're going to, anybody from Hollywood, it's not like you can just reach out and say, I'm really disgusted by this, or, I have an idea for a show. Can you do this? You're not going to get that. Well, that's what's different here, folks. As this changes, as this book sells and it grows and it becomes #1, and it will, as this show grows and eventually gets picked up, and it will, some way, shape, or form, you are going along for the ride, because why else would I have this? Look, I love adventure. I'd rather be overseas doing protection work, quite frankly. If it wasn't for Rico, I'm going to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Rico and Jesse, and because when I commit to something, I'm committed to it. When my dogs, I committed to them a long time ago, and as they got older, I know Rico, if I left and went and deployed somewhere, this dog would die. He would die very quickly, because nobody else is going to put the time and effort in to take care of him. Plus, it'd be a psychological impact on him. So I've dedicated to not necessarily doing these overseas details right now. But at the same time, I feel like that's kind of been a blessing all along, and that God has kept me here and connected me with all the people that tune into this show on a daily basis. And there's a reason why. I'm not becoming #1 in anything. We are. This book was specifically, I should say, this book was specifically written to empower the people, not to get me rich or make me famous or anything like that. It was written over a long period of time of sitting and studying, what am I doing? What is my career? Why am I always a step ahead of the bad guys and the rest of the people in this country are not? When we look at what happened in Fort Lauderdale when this guy gets a gun out of his bag. Coincidentally, he's a Muslim, but they didn't really report that. But he and then he shoots 5 people. When you see the video of that, they just dive onto the ground. They're not even aware of how to escape. They're not aware of where the attack could come from. They're literally so shocked when it happens that they fall down. That's not how I would react. That's not how other SEALs and a lot of law enforcement people that I know would react. And so I kept questioning, how do I teach the people to respond? Well, the best way to teach them is teach them to act, not to react. And that's what this book is all about. But that's what this show's all about. That's what this dialogue is all about. That's why I always talk about dialogue. That's why I always talk about the importance of the American people coming together. It doesn't matter where it's at, if it's on this show or whatever, and having dialogue and not trying to prove I know more than you do. You should all be on a quest to know the truth and to know what's effective, not what you know more than this person knows. If you know more than this person and you both are on the same team and you're both there to learn, that person's going to recognize that you know more in this field, and they're going to seek out your knowledge. But that's not the way the world works now, is it? That's not the way this country works. I mean, look, on Twitter all day today, because I had people all day, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, all day talking about these different groups and how communism is utilizing, I really think they've started these groups, to spread this ideology. And they are so vicious in their attacks online, crude, rude, and majority of people don't even, it's not like they started, it's not like the people who started Antifa or started Black Lives Matter or the Muslim Brotherhood are going to be the ones attacking me on Twitter. It's the underlings, the people just follow blindly because they don't show up to say, what's the truth, what's effective. They show up and they say, I agree with that, and that guy's an idiot for not believing it. Well, I seek the truth. I don't seek to be told the narrative. I don't seek to be told that this is the way it is and you should just go along with it. I seek to know the truth. I need to know what's effective, and I need to see proof of that before I believe it. So that's what this whole thing is about. This is a mountain that we're climbing together, and hopefully what will come out of all this in the end is a rise to power of the people, not of me, not of anybody else. I would like to be up there at the top with everybody, just as powerful as everybody else, crushing this weird ideology of communism that I questioned all these experts today. Experts on Black Lives Matter, an expert on communism, an expert on the Muslim Brotherhood. I asked all of them, 2 experts on communism, including David Horowitz, who was a communist. And I said, based on my training and experience as an investigator, based on my years as a SEAL and doing all these other things, I know that nothing is coordinated in this world. Nothing is coordinated in this world without a hierarchy, without a chain of command, and without somebody guiding and task organizing how things are done. I don't believe that's George Soros. I think George Soros is a money man. I think he is somebody who is not afraid of being a public face, but I don't believe George Soros is the man that is making all this happen. I think if you took George Soros out, it would still continue to go, but it would be the same as killing the money man of ISIS, for instance. It would put a huge dent in the way things work, but at the same time, George Soros has a son, and there's many other people that are involved. I have my ideas why this is, and I've told this before on this show. It's nothing I try to hide. I'm not surprised that many people are called to feel the same way. I believe, especially when we look at communism and we look at what it holds. Now think about this. This is what I want you to think about. I didn't say this on today's show, and I should have. When you look at communism, you look at the history of it, you look at Marx and Engels, and you look at Stalin and Lenin, and the way that these people, and what's his name? I forget the other guy's name. I forget the other guy's name, but when you look at what their belief system was when it comes to communism, right? This is what it all boils down to. It boils down to they believe that out of conflict will come a synthesis. But they almost don't believe in a lot of ways that the synthesis can happen without the conflict. Now, where do you think that type of an ideology could arise from? This is something that's been around for a long, long time. Well, when you look at the story of Satan, and you look at the way this narcissistic father of all lies, the way he works, is that he believes he is bigger than God himself. He believes he is God or a God, and he could not handle the God of all creation, of all universe, creating a creature that was made in his own image. He couldn't stand that. He couldn't handle, because of his ego and because he believed that he was to be the one on high. Well, what he started to, I think this sounds so much like his story, that out of the conflict between he and God, that out of that conflict will come a synthesis, and that there will be one, but he has to defeat. There has to be a revolution. There has to be an overcoming of something. And in the case of Satan, it's God. And he believes out of this will come this synthesis of there's a thesis and an antithesis, and out of the struggle between those two will come a synthesis. And when you think about what communism believes, it is exactly that. Now, I don't believe that if it is Satan pulling the strings in communism, that his ultimate goal is to have a world, a socialistic world without government, where as you are capable. What happened to my sign back here? See, how they say it? As you can, you do, and as you need, you take. Well, Listen, that's never going to happen. There's never going to be a world. You can't even put 5-year-olds in a sandbox without them fighting. How do you think the most uncomplicated form of a human being is from about 2 to 5? Their children are like geniuses from 2 to 5. They are uncomplicated because they are a clean slate. As they collect knowledge and understanding, they become more complicated. If the most uncomplicated form of a human being cannot play together without fighting or wanting or narcissistically saying, I have to have that and it's mine. If human nature is such that even those nearly perfect human beings cannot get along for an hour in a sandbox, how in the world does anyone believe that the human race, made up of billions, we're not talking about 5 or 6 or 7 or even 10 children in a sandbox. We're talking about billions, like almost 8 billion now I think we have in this world. Maybe more. I think it's around 8 billion. Do you think that they're going to live in a world where as you were able to perform, you work, and if you're in need, then you take? There's no need for a government. There won't be anybody trying to nefariously screw over anybody. There won't be anybody so angry that they murder, or people looking for an alternative high, and all of a sudden these dealers that come around or pimps that are trying to sell, drugs and stuff and get people hooked. That's just going to go away. I don't care if communism took over the whole world and alleviated the world through strong-arm tactics of a government. As soon as you back away, the nefarious people are going to step forward, and human beings and their complicated minds are not going to be able to survive like that. You need law and order. You need law and order. You need direction. You need guidance. It boils down to this, folks. We're only here on this planet for, at the most, the very most, like 120 years. Most of us are here for between 60 and 80 years. And then you're gone forever from this earth. I can't wrap my mind around, except for the fact that Satan is involved in this and that people are buying off on this because he's been around since man was created, and man in their short lifespan there's a constant turnaround of people that don't realize, that don't read, that don't study, don't seek the truth, and so they don't know how they're being played. And as this continues throughout the age of man, people just are constantly fooled, and he gets better at it, we get dumber, mostly because of these phones and computers. You're only here for 60 to 80 years. Why in the world do we commit so much time and effort to playing these political games? Why? I don't get it, except for the fact that human beings are just that consumed with themselves, with comfort. They sold, and they're taught generation after generation, don't try, don't serve, just be comfortable and you're fine. And that comes from a specific direction for sure. That's not just human nature. Ultimately, I know this for a fact, humans are happiest when they are serving. And I'm not talking about slavery, but I'm talking about when you're doing meaningful things that bring you meaning in your life. When you are achieving, when you're serving, when you're helping each other out. That is where things truly exist that make humans the happiest. So as I kept talking to these gentlemen today, what I couldn't get an answer from any of them is, who is the person at the top? Who is pulling the strings? I didn't say Satan because I was waiting for them to say something. But there's something definitely there. There's definitely, based on my training and experience, there is no way, even in the FBI, which is the top law enforcement agency in the world, I guess, even in the FBI or local law enforcement or a fire department, for instance, a fire department that doesn't have a chief that has his chain of command under him, a group of men and women that show up to fight a fire, they're not going to be able to do it. You may have one hero here and a hero there, but they're not going to be coordinated. And they're not going to know, we need to go cover this side. You need to put a hose on this. You need to go get the water over here. It's just not going to happen. Even in the SEAL teams, you need an officer. You need a chief. There's different aspects of leadership that has to be there to ensure mission success, that the tools that you need are there, and that everything flows, because you don't want a shooter going through the door worrying about, is the helicopter, is he doing his, I forget the word, is he over in the right area waiting on us to call them in? Are the breachers doing their job downstairs while we fast rope in? That's a shooter's job, is to be thinking straight ahead, saying, as Rob O'Neill, I saw him do this in an expert way once on a thing. He's looking at the door and saying, do the hinges open in or out? Is the door unlocked? He goes, as a shooter, he goes through all these different things in his head, and then he acts, right? He's not concerned with the coordination of the jet aircraft overhead that are coordinating the firepower if they need it. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to communism, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, the Muslim Brotherhood, Antifa, by all means necessary, all these groups. Somebody is coordinating this. If you can't coordinate the most highly trained operators and warriors in the world into a fighting force without a hierarchy and without a chain of command, there is no way a bunch of idiotic buffoons like these weirdos wearing masks. Have you noticed that every time they pull a mask off of an Antifa person, you just sit back there and go, that is the person that could not fit in high school. That's them. Or that's the goth person, or that's the weirdo person that that when you at work they stink, or they're over there in the corner that you can't get rid of them because of some kind of human resources policy, but nobody can get along with the person. They're weird. Every time they pull the mask off of somebody, it's one of these weirdos, or somebody that's like a teacher that when you are out to dinner and they can't shut their mouth about how much they hate Donald Trump. One of these weirdos. That don't have any backing for what they believe. Have you noticed that that's who it is when they pull the mask off? And you think that those people are going to coordinate where they want, we need to go here, and we need to have 30 people over here and 100 people over there, and we need to have them to dress the same. They need to know how to swing a stick, how to take an M80 and put it in a wine bottle. They need to know how to confront people and argue. Do you think that they're just doing that on their own? No. They are being instructed. They're going to courses. They're going to classes. They're getting this education in an underground, covert manner, and it's being passed down and directed from somewhere. And I don't know where it is, but I can tell you this. Whether it's Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Muslim Brotherhood, by all means necessary, President Obama and his crew, Trudeau up in Canada, Spain, France, Australia, Great Britain, and all these other places around the world that have these socialistic, communistic leaders, there is no way that they are all not on the same page somehow, some way. It's too structured, it's too uniformed, and it's just flowing too fast. I want to know who is at the top of this. And I challenge them to come out, because are they that much of a wimp that they're not going to stand up and reveal themselves and say, I'm in charge of this. I'm the one that's doing this, and this is the way it should be. Do it. Show us. I dare whoever this is. Explain to the world, this is what you're going for. Stop with this nonsense. If you think your way is that great, and you think that your way is the answer, you think that your way is the truth, then why don't you come out from the shadows, take off the masks, and stand up and profess, just like some person that would be out there professing their Christianity, like in the old time preachers where they go out and have their revivals. Get up and tell us. Let us know. But you won't do that, because here's what happens. All this nonsense, all this aggression, all this covert subversion and taking over the leadership positions of states and countries, all these protesters, these Black Lives Matter separatists and white separatists and all these different groups, all they lead back to, I believe, is one individual that wants control and wants to defeat God. That's what I believe. I challenge anyone to give me a better description of what they think it is. Nothing. There's no way globally on that many levels that anybody could control this unless the liar of all liars and the most nefarious narcissist of all time was involved with this at the top. There's no way. And I don't care how many elite money people, I don't care how many generals and deputy directors and politicians are involved. None of those people have the ability to pull the strings from top to bottom. None of them. You think John McCain has the ability to go organize protests all over the country? At the same time, they're uniformly taking over the presidential or prime minister positions all over the world, and also mayors and governors and judges. John McCain or Paul Ryan or Nancy Pelosi or rich people like George Soros? They don't have the ability. They don't have the time. What I've found in my lifetime, I'm almost 48 years old. What I've found is that there is only so much that you can do if you're trying to do everything. But if you do one thing or two things, maybe three things really great, you will be the best at those things. But you can't do it all. And there's no way that these people are doing this by themselves. Somebody, somewhere at the top, is pulling the strings and guiding this movement. And that is what we need to start asking ourselves. Something other than these weirdos. As Michael Jack would say, follow the money. I believe that. Yes, follow the money. But Michael, as you well know, working in the FBI, the money is going to lead you one place, but ultimately, Osama bin Laden is a good example. The money is going to lead you to the operational side of the house, may not lead you to the ideological side of the house. It depends on the level of expertise, really, that these people have in operating, because if they're smart, the money will lead to this area of the ideology, and the leadership may come from a completely different area of the ideology. The operational stuff's going on down here. The money transfers to here. And if they're smart, the person that's actually the ideological leader will never be connected to that money. That money will be spread around through the sales and through the operational things that they're doing. And so this is where even the money trail, I think, starts to break down a bit. Now, why don't we go to the A block? I don't even know why I do these blocks. I guess just to break it up. We'll go to the A block, and I'll tell you what we covered today on the show. Here we go. We'll spice it up a little bit. I came home today. I rarely go anywhere for happy hour. And went to Del Frisco's and had 2 margaritas after the Sean Hannity show. I want to celebrate a little bit because his book is taking off. And what happened here? Let's see here. There he goes. Now we got it. See, I got to learn how to do all this stuff. So, we had a couple margaritas. I came home. I'm not kidding you, folks. When I'm doing these shows, especially the show like Sean Hannity's or something that's serious, your adrenaline gets so pumped when you get into this stuff that at the end of it, you're drained a lot of the times. And so today, after I had my margaritas, I came home, just 2 margaritas and something to eat. I felt as though my soul had been sucked out of my body, and I went sound to sleep. That's the way it happens at times, but here we are. Okay, so what we talked about today, I don't know why I felt the need to confess that. Well, I guess because I'm drinking coffee. What we talked about today, I am overwhelming this screen with Sheep No More. It's everywhere. What we talked about today on the show is kind of like what I opened the show with here tonight. We started with Black Lives Matter. And no, excuse me. Let me see here. Where did we go? We started with David Horowitz. David Horowitz, if you have not, The Big Agenda is his newest book. If you have not looked up David Horowitz, his story is pretty phenomenal. He was a communist, and one day I asked him when we were on the radio a while back, earlier this year, I said, why? What was it that made you come out of this? He was like the Antifa people. That's the way he believed. That's the way he saw. And he said that a friend of his died. I'd love to have him on this show sometime. A friend of his died, or didn't die. He was killed. And the communist people that were the leaders of that group at that time, it didn't faze them at all, and they really, quite frankly, didn't even care. And that shook him to his core, and he basically started see, this is the thing about groups like Antifa or communism or any of this stuff, or even Satan for this matter, is once you have a realization or an epiphany and you see something, the house of cards begins to fall. And once it progresses, not only does it completely fall, but you have way more insight than people who've never been in something like this before. So that's what happened to David Horowitz. He was a communist. This death occurred, and it put a crack in the wall, and his house of cards just fell. And then he became a very open-eyed person about the reality of what's going on in this world. I was shocked when I didn't even know this, that Nancy Pelosi, I got this stored on my phone here. Nancy Pelosi, on the floor of the Senate, talked about Harry Bridges as being her hero. I didn't know who Harry Bridges was. I still have not had time to go study who Harry Bridges is. But according to David Horowitz, let me look him up real quick. He is a communist. And just like Harry Bridges was an Austrian-born American union leader with the Longshoremen's Association, and he was a communist. He became a naturalized citizen in 1945. His conviction by a federal jury for having lied about his Communist Party membership when seeking naturalization was overturned by the Supreme Court. Way to go, Supreme Court always does this stuff. It was prosecuted outside the statute of limitations, so the Supreme Court overthrew it. See, that's one good thing about, not good thing, that's one thing about the left, is they have plenty of attorneys and plenty of judges in their pockets. So this guy was a communist. Nancy Pelosi gave an entire speech about how he was her hero on the floor of the Senate. Now, when you look at Obama, Frank Marshall Davis is Obama's professed hero. He is also a communist. We need to look at Hillary Clinton. Her hero is Saul Alinsky, who is a communist. All of these people, and when I posed the question today to David Horowitz, and it wasn't just David, I asked several people, are these people groomed? Are they cultivated? Or do they just, like Obama, come out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're a powerful political leader? And he said, no, they're absolutely groomed. These people are chosen sometimes even at a young age that they're going to be a political leader. And they're also picked a lot of the times from families whose parents are communist. Not my words. These are the words of somebody who was a communist, or scholars that have spent their lives studying communism. I find this very fascinating. I also find it very fascinating that a majority of people, whether they profess to be communist or that their heroes were communists, a very large group of the people that we deem the ruling class in this country, which I hate that term with a passion, have all ridden silver bullets straight to the top. Now, how many people, I'm going to get this question correctly, how many people by a show of thumbs up on Facebook or hearts on Twitter? Just stop with the thumbs and the hearts for right now. Don't do anything for a second. Just stop it. And I want to see how many people by a show of thumbs or hearts have actually known somebody who were very, very successful individual, not powerful, somebody who's successful that did something that they loved and they were the best at it, or an Olympian, for instance, or an athlete that were great at what they do that got a silver bullet. How many people? I don't know anybody. If you know them, give me some thumbs or hearts. I don't know anybody who got a silver bullet so they could be an Olympic champion. Now, on the other hand, how many politicians, and you can give me thumbs up and hearts for this, how many politicians have you seen that graduated college, like Barack Obama and Ted Cruz for this instance? I'm going to put them both in this category. They graduate college, they immediately go to an Ivy League school, immediately clerk for somebody like the Supreme Court, immediately go into politics, and immediately are at the top. I know people that struggle for 15, 20 years to become the best at what they do, and it's very difficult. And yet, these people, it seems, in a matter of 10 years, can graduate college. First of all, they go from high school into the top echelon of colleges, which I don't necessarily believe in those, but they go to the top echelon of the schools that are the hardest to get into. We never are told truly how they get into these schools. All of a sudden, they're top of in the most prestigious Ivy League schools in the country and in the world. Many of them are Rhodes Scholars, which I find very odd. And then, all of a sudden, when they graduate, they either go and get a master's degree or a law degree, typically a law degree, in another Ivy League school, and then they're at the top of the political stratosphere. Straight to the top. The only other thing I've ever seen like this is in high school or junior high when somebody's father is a coach, or in Pee Wee this or that, and they just show up and practice and they play the entire game because their father's a coach. That's called a silver bullet, and that never usually works out to the team's advantage, because those people, unless the coach just happens to have an Olympic caliber athlete, what typically happens is they're just a turd, and they have the ego, and they get out there because their dad allows them to be out there. It's the same thing in politics. How many politicians do you know that are successful at leading anything or serving or saving this country? They're not. So when I asked that question, I was very surprised at how quickly David Horowitz answered it. Right away, he said, absolutely. These people are cultivated. They don't just show up. They're not like athletes who spend hours and days and nights and through the rain and the proper diet getting better and better at what they do. These are people that just are picked right out. And they're placed in all these different, to build that resume, and then boom, they're put right up there. Who's telling them what to do? Who's leading them? Who's guiding them and coordinating them? Because they're coordinated, these people. That's the question we got to be asking. So that was fascinating, talking to David Horowitz about that. And I advise, whenever you hear David Horowitz on the radio or television, you stop what you're doing and listen to what he has to say. And hopefully the person interviewing him will have a good idea of what exactly David Horowitz's expertise is in, and they will interview him correctly. Now, after that, we had Dr. Ron Martinelli, who I'm going to have on this show. I'm going to have a lot of these people on this show eventually. And he is a former cop and a PhD and let's see here, he's also a forensic specialist. and he talked a tremendous amount about Black Lives Matter and about the three founders, which are three, and I don't care, on this show, we don't care if somebody's gay, but these are three lesbian women with dark skin who are avid black separatists. And that's who started Black Lives Matter. A lot of these people like to claim that they were a part of that they're founders of Black Lives Matter, but they're not. These women started almost a communist type of a separations group, and they did a hashtag on Twitter, hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then other people started to get on board with that. And that's basically where this started, and then it grew at a rapid pace because, like all the other communist groups, they are masking their communism under something like the relationship between cops and the minority groups in the inner city. When, in fact, Black Lives Matter does nothing for the inner city. They do nothing. They just simply raise a ruckus about certain specific people who are killed. You never hear Black Lives Matter protesting the gangs in the inner city who are literally killing thousands of black people a year. They're not going to protest that. They only protest when a cop shoots a black person, and they can jump on board with that because, by and large, their whole process is to defund. And I had the 3 Ds here. I think I got rid of that too. Dadgummit. Yeah, I got rid of it. The 3 Ds, they want to defund, disassociate. I can't remember the other Ds. But they want to break down the relationship between cops and the people. And that's the way these communist groups work. That's how they are able to further their movement at a rapid pace, as if they delegitimize the police force and disassociate the people from respecting authority. Disassociate, that was one as well. Yes, thank you, Jody. So that was great having him on as well. And I discovered a lot about Black Lives Matter, as you will if you do a little bit of research about these individuals, about the reality. If you live in the inner city, and I don't know how many people from the inner city watch this show, but if you have friends that live in the inner city, or you have friends that are in college that have been kind of hanging towards this Black Lives Matter thing. The problem is a lot of these people are very angry, but they need to know the reality and the truth of who the people are that started this movement and why they're actually using it. It's all a communist ploy. After we had Dr. Martinelli, then David Horowitz came on, and then Dr. Paul Kingor, who I interviewed yesterday on Andrew Wilkow's show. I'll also be hosting Andrew Wilkow's show tomorrow. Yesterday we talked about how the communists got into the educational sector. We talked about that a little bit more today, that they were able to infiltrate through the movement into Columbia University, basically, and they just went out from there into other Ivy League schools, and then down from there to regular universities, into the mainstream schools, high schools, junior highs, in elementaries, even into the indoctrinating people through television, into media, so on and so forth. He said the same thing about Black Lives Matter, as all these individuals did, about Antifa, and about By All Means Necessary, BAMN, which the mayor of Berkeley is a part of. I'm looking at what you guys are seeing here. We ought to have Michael Jack come on here and talk a little bit tonight. If you want, Michael Jack, you're more than welcome to. After that, Patrick Poole from National Security Correspondent for PJ Media, he came on. He talked as well about this same stuff. One thing, I think it was David Horowitz said, in the world today, he either said 22 million or 60 million fleeing people that are fleeing oppression around the world. Yet no one is fleeing from the United States. That was a very profound statement. If nobody is fleeing from this country because of oppression, how oppressive is this country? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know. I do know one thing. This dog is all over me. What is it? Come here. This is going to be the last time you get up here. Say hello. What do you want? Say hi. Yeah. Okay. Get out of here. All right. Let me see if 10 minutes. All right, we'll have you on here in just a few minutes. That sounds good. So anyway, that was the show today in a nutshell. While we're waiting on Michael Jack, and Michael Jack, you're going to call in on Skype, I believe, right? So I need to turn my Skype on here. Hold on one second, folks. I need to get some music for this. I got to be careful, though. Viral Hog will come after me. Viral Hog. They seem to think they own everything. So let's talk a little bit more about the book so we don't lose these sales. You guys got to keep pushing this out. It's got to go further than just this show. Getting our Skype on. All right, Michael Jack, when you call in, you have to have your phone turned sideways. Remember that. That way you take up the whole screen back here. And let me clear this out over here. Boom. All right. So, the book. Let me just give you a little bit more about what this book is about so you can tell people about it. Because people who are in college are going to want this book. Stand by here. This coffee's got me sweating. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this before. This is a picture I keep down here. Look at that. Family. Look at that. That's back when I was in the FBI Academy without a beard. By the way, look at that. There's Rico looking strong and proud, and Jessie looking hefty. She wasn't hefty, though. She was a fast dog. All right, we're waiting. So, two things while we're waiting on Michael Jack. The book. Let me go through this real quick about the book. If you want to explain this book to people, what it's about, it's the beginning of awareness. This book is the best way not only to understand how an attacker thinks, but it's really a step-by-step understanding of how you can increase your awareness overall. Yes, it's focused on tactics. Yes, it's focused up. Hold on here a second. Let's see here. There he is, folks. Hold on one second here. Bam.
You know, I'm peacefully eating dinner and, you know, just messing with you and having a popsicle, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, you gotta swallow your popsicle real fast to get on the phone.
Hold on a second here. I gotta fix the color. You're too dark on here.
Are you covered up again?
Yeah, I am. You're not gonna be able to see me because then my picture ends up showing up on there. Let's see here.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second.
You can't even hardly see me. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, or do you have a light you can put? There you go. You're fine now.
All right.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, whoever comes on here is going to have a light. Like, you got light behind you, and it ends up darkening your face. That's the problem.
Yeah, hold on a second.
There you go. Look at that. There he is.
Yeah.
Technology. I mean, look, you got it. In one way, we got to figure this out as we go along. But in the other thing is, what's cool about it is, I'm sitting here talking to a former senior FBI agent, and it's as though everybody's getting to watch this at home. So, okay.
Yeah, the only reason I'm senior is because I'm older than
you. No, trust me.
You're bragging about being 48. I don't even remember 48.
I'm saying senior because you could stick with a job for more than 8 years. Which
well, that could be taken many ways, my friend.
Well, you rose to ranks and did good work in the FBI, and that's what's I guess most important. But what were you saying? You were saying something there a minute ago about Alinsky overloaded the system until it fails. Talk about that real quick.
Oh, that's what he used to do. I mean, that's part of what when he was doing movements and so on, is that he would try and come up with ways to do things that would actually overload whatever it was that they were doing, whether it was the police or if it was a corporation. They would come up with ways to just overload the system until the system couldn't handle the pressure anymore.
Right.
And it would just begin to fail. And that's a tactic that the left uses. It has used for years and years and years to try and bring the other side down, no matter what it is. You just overload the system. And that's what you've been talking about. You know, you're talking about what's going on now. All this stuff started, 100 years ago.
Right.
This is just not the culmination, but this is a result of you were talking about Columbia, Columbia University. Well, it was those guys, some of the guys that ended up migrating there were socialists from Germany just before Hitler took over everything, called the Frankfurter Group. And they became professors at Columbia. And
that's the group, the Frankfurter Group.
The Frankfurter Group, yeah.
Yeah.
They were from Frankfurt, Germany, Frankfurt Group. And they were from a leftist school there.
Right.
And it got to be about 1938 or something like that when things started getting pretty ugly for their side because of Hitler's group. And they split up and left. Some of them went to the Soviet Union and some of them the United States.
There you go. I had to fix that sound real quick. Now you're much better. Where did Saul, do you know much about, I don't know that much about Saul Alinsky's history. Where did he, was he recruited himself by the Communist Party? Where did he come from?
He was just an activist. And in fact, he used to deny being a communist.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his philosophies were certainly that way. But he was just a very, he was an activist, and he was a very good activist. I mean, he came up with some really interesting ways of doing things. If anybody's got Rules for Radicals, read the section where they went after Kodak in Rochester, New York, and how they did that. It is hilarious.
Right.
And, it was like, talk about thinking outside the box. But they did stuff like that all the time.
What was the thing with Kodak? I remember seeing something about that. He had some interview about that.
Well, okay, we can talk about it. It's what he did was, he was going after the company. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was because they were dumping tons of money into the community, but none of it was going to the black community.
Gotcha.
And so they got a whole big group of people. They got some money together, and the big event of the year that was sponsored by the wives of all the executives for Kodak was, they sponsored the symphony in Rochester.
Yeah.
And the opening performance of the symphony was always a big deal. And so they managed to come up with a bunch of tickets to that opening night. And before they went, everybody sat down and ate a copious amounts of beans.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they got to the symphony and they're all sitting there, listening to the music, the beans started to kick in, and the odoriferous effect was amazing. And I guess they really smelled the place up.
So
after that,
that's what they did. They literally did that in order to go out and forward their protest.
Hey, that was one of the things they did. Yeah. And after that, the wives, who were really angry,
yeah,
that this happened, sat down with their husbands and said, "You better fix that." And that's when Kodak and everybody around them, they basically came to the table and started talking seriously. But that's the kind of stuff they did.
Wow. That's very simple.
Yeah.
That's a very simple biological weapon.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of people though to do that though. I don't know if
NBC warfare, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough conservatives to get together to make a difference there, but that's very interesting that they were able to do that. Yeah, he also spent time with the mafia in Chicago. It kind of as an apprentice.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He was studying them, and they let him. He was writing about them, I think. Anyway, he spent time with them and went out and observed their techniques and what they did and how they controlled people and things, and
learned a lot and incorporated a lot.
Yeah, he incorporated a lot of that into what he did.
Interesting.
Intimidation.
Yeah,
He used every technique he could think of to intimidate government and try and, again, overload the system.
Yeah. Anything real quick, and I won't keep people on here much longer, but real quick, just talk about some more of the process of how politics has slowly been indoctrinated with communism to the point where they're both on both sides, left and right. But basically, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that all this stuff has started moving much faster because of social media, because of media in general, because of TV and computers. But it was much slower back in the day when it first started. How were they able to communicate so widely, if you do know this, in the beginnings when they were passing all these laws and doing all this stuff? I think you said somewhere around the 1913s or something like that, where they were able to get in there and convince people that this is a better way. How did they do that?
That was the progressive movement, and that actually started back in the 1800s. It took a long time to get to what they did in 1913, which was a record year for lousy things happening to the Constitution.
Right.
But that started back, that people read newspapers, and Karl Marx used to be a feature writer back in the 1870s, 1880s for the New York Tribune. And his ideas became Americanized. Wilson wrote about it.
And he lived on the Lower East Side, which is weird because the same people live there today. There's a lot of communists that live on that side.
Yeah. And so it's a philosophy that got picked up in the United States. And I think it got picked up because the Industrial Revolution hurt a lot of poor people. So they were ripe for being recruited into this kind of stuff.
Right.
And
what just went through my brain as you were saying this is that the UN is on the Lower East Side. So it really it's no surprise that the UN is over there on the east side, on the Lower East Side. Manhattan, for those people that don't know, it's like you took the globe and shrunk it down into one island. And so all the problems that you're going to have around the world are going to exist somewhere in New York. And so when you have communists or global individuals that come together and cause problems, they're all going to be located somewhere here in New York. It seems like it's been that way.
Yeah, it's a melting pot.
Yeah,
it is
definitely a melting pot.
You know how to get rid of the UN, don't you?
Well, I know a lot of ways, but what's your way?
all you got to do is pass a law to make them have to pay their parking tickets. That they'll leave the country that fast, really quick after that.
Yeah, because they got like millions of dollars in parking tickets, right?
Millions upon millions of dollars in parking. It would probably break some of the small countries.
Wow. Did you see, this has nothing to do with it, did you see the video of that car coming out of the woods at the presidential motorcade today?
I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
Let me see if I'll pull it up real quick. I'll put it on the screen. And they're saying that this woman's brakes went out, that she was up at a Bass Pro Shop that was on top of the hill, and that her brakes went out. And I don't know. This coincidence is huge, but let me pull it up here real quick.
I'm not going to be able to see it.
Do you? Oh, you don't have your computer on?
No.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
Just sitting here with my cell phone.
Well, when you get off here, you're going to have to watch it, and then you'll be on the I should have played it earlier. You'll be on the chat, so we'll be able to. Actually, you know what? You will be able to see it. I'm going to get inventive here. Hold on one second.
Okay. Are you typing or?
I am, yes.
Grinding? Okay.
Okay, so hold on.
I don't know if you're typing or grinding your teeth. I know you're upset. You know.
Let's see. I got to see how it's listed. Okay, here you go. So let me pull this up. Now, you may hear it, you may not hear it, but what I'm going to do is let me see here. I'm going to pull this up here. Everybody will see me there for a minute. There I am. And now
nice T-shirt.
Yeah, thanks. You're going to see in the screen here. You see how that works. So you're going to get to watch it here. Let's see here.
This is really complicated.
Yeah. So what happened was, folks, there was the presidential motorcade was coming down. You'll see that the motorcycles will go by. And then right after the motorcycles go by, you're going to see on the right side of the screen, you'll see a car come out of the woods. Now I'm going to pull this over here in front of your face for a minute. I'm going to have to, hold on one second. There's a lot going on here, but I want you to see this. I want to get your opinion. A lot of people have not seen this. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to lower you. I'm going to pull this over. Boom, right there in front of your face. Put this up. Full screen. Now people will be able to see it.
There he is. There's the beast. Oh. Oh my gosh. Look at that car that just came out of the woods. Ah. Car, dude. That car right there just drove out of the woods.
Now, did you see that? Could you see it, Michael?
I couldn't quite tell what was going on, but...
Well, I'm going to replay it real quick for those people who didn't see it. And basically what you're going to see is right as his motorcade passes, not just motorcade, his limo, this car comes out of the woods. I'm trying not to cover up the TV as well.
The beast.
There he is. There's the beast. Oh. Oh my gosh. Look at that car that just came out of the woods. Ah. Car, dude. That car right there just drove out of the woods.
So, I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm trying to do something that I don't know if I'm capable of me doing it. But basically, for those of the people that are watching, I'll get out of the way of the TV, play it one more time. I'll point to it so they'll see it. Here comes a motorcade. That's the lead car right here. Now here, it's another lead car. It's a cop car. The motorcade's right here. The presidential limo moves to the left as this car comes out of the woods.
Look at that car that just came
One
out
of the
woods.
assault trucks probably comes over here and tries to block. Right here. And then as we fast forward,
just drove out of the woods.
one of these other trucks is going to do a U-turn and is going to go. They're already out of the car right here. And so here comes a truck that's going to, one of the Suburbans going to turn around and deploy over here. Now, what I heard was that a woman, they said it was a woman. They said that she had lost control or lost her brakes at the Bass Pro Shop that was up the road, and subsequently ran down the hill and ended up right there at that time. I don't know if that's true. That's a huge coincidence. I don't know, but you'll be able to watch it when we get off here. You'll be able to see it better. But these coincidences that happen like this, I find it hard to believe a lot of times that this can actually happen from an investigative standpoint.
Well, that's because you're an investigator, and we don't believe very much in coincidences. And I'm sure that the Secret Service guys have got that car, and they are tearing it apart, and they're looking at brakes and everything in that system to try and verify what she had to say. Yeah. And if they can't, she's going to be in a world of hurt.
Now, let's transition real quick before you go back to what we were talking about, because this investigator mindset, and this is why I was wanting to show that and show people how investigators think. We don't look at coincidences like this, and I cannot wrap my mind around just an ideology that a bunch of people believe in all around the world, known as communism, democratic socialism, which even Lenin was using that term, globalism, whatever you want to call it. There's no way, you know as well as I do, that even in an organization like the United States government, without a chain of command and a hierarchy, task organizing and tasking people, you go do this, you go do that, and running the missions, there's no way that these things can be this coordinated. No way.
Well, I agree that there is probably some coordination going on. When you were talking earlier, are you talking about like the pinnacle of everything?
Yeah, I believe this goes. It's so global.
You were talking about Satan, and if anybody that studies the Bible or any of that, the things that went on or that are described in the Bible about what happened, in heaven before
right.
the earth was even created and people came here. They talk about the council of the heavens, and they put forth a plan for God's children when they would come here, and how they would grow and learn and be able to return home someday. And we all know that Christ was the first son, but not a lot of people know is that Lucifer was the second son. And he had his plan, and his plan was basically communism. His plan was, we don't give people free will. We just tell them what to do, and that way everybody will be able to come back.
Yeah.
And that plan was rejected, and he and a third of the host of heaven were run out. Well, a third of the host of heaven is a lot of spirits, right?
Right.
And if you have those spirits, if you believe in that, if you have those spirits active here in the world, ever since then, man's got his free agency, and they can feed, as there's an old saying, Satan will tell you 9 truths to get you to believe 1 lie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of weak-minded people that will go right down that path. They'll believe those 9 truths, and then they'll take the 10th one and believe it too. And it's a flat-out lie to take you in the wrong direction.
Interesting.
And it doesn't take, certain people that are more prone to that than others, end up being leaders, and they're all going by that same philosophy. That's why when I text you, I said, you follow the money. It's all about, with Satan and his followers, it's all about money and power.
Yeah.
Money and power. Power over the people, and, collecting the money so you live well as long as you're here.
It's very interesting the way you describe Satan versus Jesus also, because Jesus has always been described as a meek individual, nothing profound, nothing that stood out about his looks. In fact, the Bible describes him as somebody who was downtrodden, and somebody who was was not overly somebody who would walk in a room and people would notice. But that's completely opposite of the way Satan was described, as Lucifer means the light bearer, as one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful creature that was ever created. And which is a perfect example of where this world is going this day and age, is they're addicted to shiny, beautiful things, which is why Tommy Lahren is now a Fox News contributor, because they can't get away from flashy blonde hair and good looks that have no substance and nothing to bring to the table. How can you contribute if you're 24 years old and never done anything except get fired? I don't get it.
After I saw her on TV last night, I couldn't wait to be able to come home and get on the show and hear what you had to say.
Well, you have blonde hair too. You're kind of flashy.
Yeah, right. I'm old. The flash is all gone, buddy.
I don't know. I think
you're still young. You might want to think about growing some hair back or buying a wig or something. Maybe it'll help.
Well, I was born with a skin yarmulke right here, so I got to grow a lot of hair here to bring it back to here, and that takes patience. I don't have patience for that. I don't have time to grow hair.
I'll tell you. I want to tell you something real quick about dodging a bullet.
Yep.
My grandfather, on my mother's side, my grandfather and my uncle were both bald by the time they were 30.
Wow.
What I have left on top of my head right now is all natural, and I've never had a problem.
Wow.
That I dodged the bullet. Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
I got a dog down here that's stuck. Okay, he's unstuck.
You going through the doggy door?
No, this dog and his infinite, I hear people talk about their dogs doing this all the time, but he never did this till he got older. And now, whenever I start talking, he gets around me and likes to hover down here, but he's too old to step over stuff, so he falls and gets tangled up and stuff. And if I shut my door to this studio that I built, then there's a whole nother ball of wax of problems when I get off that I don't even want to deal with. So I leave the door open and it ends up being a hassle. But anyway.
He retaliates.
Yeah, he's Jack Russell. That's what they do.
Yeah, I know.
All right, buddy. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to wrap this show up. Tomorrow I'm taking off. I'm going to be hosting the Andrew Wilkow Show on the Wilkow Majority on SiriusXM Patriot Channel 125. If you have anything you want to talk about, let me know. We'll have you on there. Just text me.
I'll do that.
That's 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, did you see my other message about your book?
I did not see it. Where is it?
You'll see it afterwards.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
All right.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much.
Take care.
God bless.
You too.
Michael Jack, everyone. GS a million from former FBI agent.
God.
I think I hung up on him. I guess we'll see. Yeah, there it is. All right, let's get this off here. Boom. Stand by. Got to make sure this dog's okay. Good grief, this dog. I'll tell you what. All right. I get Michael Jack's picture off here, too. All right. Anything else anybody got? Before you came on, I was going to tell everybody real quick about this book. This is the way you describe it to people when you're getting people to pre-order it. First of all, they need to pre-order it because we need this book on the bestseller list. This book, Sheep No More, which you keep seeing revolve around right. I can't see right here below me. The way you explain it to people is they need to pre-order it so they can get it as quickly as possible so we can get this book on the bestseller list. The more this book, the higher it goes on the bestseller list, then it's going to get promoted more. The more it gets promoted, the more recognition it's going to get. The more recognition it gets, the more people are going to read it. The more people read it, the more awareness is going to spread. And the more people are going to be drawn to this show, the more people are going to be drawn to questioning the reality of what's going on. They're going to be safer. They're going to be able to not only avoid attacks, but avoid bad people and be able to say, that's where a bad person will hang out. I'm not going to go there. That's how you promote this book. All right, folks? So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to close up shop now. I'm going to go to the Truth Zone. And I just noticed that Twitter changed a thing. Wow. Twitter finally, I just noticed, I just looked over here. Twitter now has all, just like on YouTube, or excuse me, on Facebook and YouTube, now Twitter has the chats where they go to the side and they stay on there. So now that I can go back and read this stuff. Well, that's good. I didn't know that. I'm just getting myself in the whole ball of wax. How I'm going to end up looking at all these chats at the same time, I'm going to have to coordinate this now. All right, that's it, folks. Big day yesterday. Big day again tomorrow with the Wilkow Majority, 3 p.m. Eastern, or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM Patriot Channel 125. Keep promoting this book. Tell your friends about it. Tell them it's not going to let them down. It's going to be something that they never read before. But if they just read it, their awareness is going to be increased. If they apply the techniques that are in it, they're going to change their lives. I'm telling you right now, it's going to change the way you see and do things in your life. What else we got? And sorry about the low sound there at the beginning. For some reason, when this starts, I have to unplug and replug this thing back in. Michael Jack, now that you're back on here, I'll play this for you real quick. Hold on one second. And I think there were 2 views of this, but let me pull it back up here real quick. I'll show you where the car comes. There goes the lead car. Here's the motorcade right here. You're going to see the limo shift to the left.
There's the beast.
At the same time, the car comes out of the woods right here.
Oh my gosh. Look at that car that just came out of the woods.
This other Suburban, if you guys start moving it, moved over. And then eventually this Suburban will do a U-turn and stop right here.
Drove out of the woods. What?
Here he comes. I don't know. That's an awfully strange coincidence, folks. I'll go through it step by step, just so you can see it. Lead car goes by. Here comes the motorcade. Now, at this point, you see that there's two of these. Now, I know you can't hardly see it from far back here, but there's two of these limos. They're both the presidential limo. They're basically the same car. There's no difference in them. What you're going to see is, I guess they probably already see, because these cars have Secret Service agents with high-powered weapons that are looking out the sides. They're scanning everything, and all these vehicles you're going to have, not in the limos, for instance, they're going to be shut in there like a tank. But all these other Suburbans that are going by, and in this cop car, they've got agents that are looking straight out as well as forwards and backwards. So as they see it, you're going to see this limo, the number 2 limo right here, abruptly move over to the right-hand side, and at the same time, you're going to see a Suburban come up and block a vehicle right here.
There he is.
Okay, so you see this Suburban is moving over. I don't know if you can see it there or not. He moves over.
There's the beast.
And here comes the car right here. This Suburban moved way over to the left.
Oh.
And this Suburban moved over. This Suburban moves over here.
Gosh. Look at that car that just came out.
So now you can see this is the president's Suburban right here that has moved all the way over to the right. This vehicle in turn has moved to the left. You have these two vehicles that are moving over, probably full of their CAT team. That's their SWAT team guys that are in here. And then as they progress, they didn't stop the motorcade to see who it was. They just now, as you can see, as they go by. Strangely, I don't see their windows down, which is a no-no, but I don't know why that would be. Now, here's another thing I want to show everybody. You see all these vans? See all these vans that are coming down here?
What?
All these vans that you're going to see back here after they pass, that's all the press corps. That's all the White House press corps. I don't agree with the press corps being anywhere close to the president. I don't like them being on his airplane. I don't like them being in the motorcade. I don't like them being in the White House. They shouldn't be anywhere close to any of this stuff. The press corps is just as big of an enemy and a part of the communist ideology as any other group out there. They should be stripped of their credentials and no longer be a part of this. They're private companies. Let them go make their money and get their evidence somewhere else about what's going on. The president and all presidents from this point forward should do what I'm doing, where they put a show on, give a press conference to the world, and forget about CNN and the rest of these yahoos in the way that they cover this nonsense. They're not covering it the way that it should be covered, for sure.
Are you serious? Yes.
Yeah, here comes. All these vans are the press corps. There they go. Or the leeches, as I like to call them. So here you go. This is the car. These are the Secret Service that are getting out. I'm assuming these are Secret Service. These might be detectives from the local police department or state police. But these people are already out. Here's the only thing about this that makes me think maybe this really was a car that was out of control somewhere and it just happened to be coincidence. I don't know who in their right mind would try to attack the presidential limo with that car and going through this gully right here. That's just going to destroy your car, which is probably the only thing that stopped them when they went through that. That was a massive hit. But I still don't know. It was very odd. Meanwhile, these guys across the street, clueless. I don't know what they're staring at over there, but anyway. Some things in security, they just do them because they've been done. We cover that in my book. Anyway. All right, that's about it. Look, the numbers all of a sudden just jumped up out of nowhere in this freaking thing. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to cover real quick one more time. I don't know why that came up. There you go. This book, Sheep No More. If you're watching right now, don't go anywhere. You got to watch this. Okay. Go order this book, pre-order it. It's on Amazon right now. It's rising to the top thanks to people that come on and watch this show. Go order it. It'll ship on December 12th. You need to have it. Your kids need to have it. Your clergyman needs to have it. Everybody goes to your church, your school. Teachers, you need this. This will help you determine who might attack you at school, why they might do it, when and where where they might do it, and how the attack may unfold. Lots of case studies that apply to teachers, that apply to special events, that apply to terrorism and criminal behavior. And this book will give you the technique, the attack and defend technique. That's what the whole cover's about. One side of me looks like an attacker, the other side looks like a defender. This will give you the technique of attack and defend so that you can go out and look at yourself from an attacker's point of view and then turn around, flip the switch, and become the defender. All right, there you go. That's my sales pitch. Let's go to the truth zone. Boom, 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 ba-boom, boom, boom. All right. Numbers shot up there for a minute, so I had to do a plug. I'm learning. All right, folks. I know it was a short week. We only did a couple of shows, but with the release of the book and with hosting these 3 big shows, I just felt it was necessary to come on here and touch base with you. I'm going to be off until next Tuesday, and I'll come back next Tuesday. I actually will be hosting on Newsmax on Monday with Bill Tucker, co-hosting there. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you can catch me tomorrow on the Will Count Majority at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have anything that you want me to talk about, feel free to reach out and let me know. We haven't planned the whole show yet, so I can put some stuff in there. But this has been a big week for talking about preparedness and communism and all these different things. And this is what it boils down to, folks. It boils down to awareness. Are you aware of what's happening in this country? Are you aware of what's happening in the world? I don't think most people are. And I got not so much of a warning, but a wake-up call to Antifa, a wake-up call to Black Lives Matter, a wake-up call to By All Means Necessary, then the Muslim Brotherhood. Here's your wake-up call. The American people are on to you. The American people know what you're doing. The American people know what you're about. It is spreading like wildfire. That is one thing about the truth that I don't care if you know. It's not a secret. It's something that those that are nefarious want to ignore. Here's the truth. Once reality is revealed, once the truth is revealed, you can't deny it. You can't ignore it. You can say, no, that's not the truth. But even the people that are following these nefarious groups will know in the back of their mind, that's the truth. That's reality. They will know and consistently and constantly have a little voice whispering in their ear that something is wrong here. This is your warning to all those that are trying to spread communism and all those that are blindly following the Communist Party. This is your warning. We, the people of America, are sheepdogs. We will be sheep no more. We will not stand here idly and allow you to subvert our country. You want to do this peacefully? Then you need to listen to what we're saying, and you need to realize that you live in a free nation where nobody's leaving this country because they're oppressed. Not even the big mouth fools in Hollywood. You didn't see them leave. That's because they know they've got it better here than anywhere else in the world. That's the truth. Your warning is this. Don't press the sheepdog. eventually you're going to get bit. You either listen to what we have to say, or eventually the tide will change and you will be swept away in the fury of we the people. Trust me. Trust me. We're asleep. This country is asleep in their own comfort. You mess with our comfort and you're going to wake us up. And when this country wakes up, it's not going to be all flowers and sunshine for the Communist Party, for Black Lives Matter, for Muslim Brotherhood, for Antifa, for By All Means Necessary, for idiots and criminals like the mayor of Berkeley, like Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, like Mayor de Blasio here in New York City, and like all the other criminals that have subverted Texas and the governments in Texas. We see you. And we're the sheepdog. We are sheep no more, and we are waking up, and we are seeing it. And this is the experts. The truth has arrived.